All right, I think we are live. Just before I move forward, yep, a quick audio check also helps. All right, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a late start to the stream, and welcome to Flashpoint Racing League. And this is me, Easy Level Bot slash Octavian, your commentator for tonight, as we have pretty much gone halfway through the qualifying, and this league is indeed a bunch of really fast drivers. And 19 we have 19 drivers on the grid on a brand new circuit on the F1 calendar, which is Miami, probably the second race in second of the two races in United States, and probably Las Vegas to join in very soon in the real life calendar, as well as let's see what, as these drivers, the Aston Martin of, or the Alpha Tauri of Troye is right now at provisional pole, the only driver sitting on the 126 or a late 126. Let's see how that evolves, and I'm not very sure what the weather is like during the race, but let's see. It'll be interesting to see the kind of setups these drivers have. As talking about the league, we are very much in round 2 at the moment, and just let me until I figure out what kind of championship standings are there after round 1. But let me give let's go on board with a driver who is probably going to start a lap, which is Igor. So I'll let the viewers enjoy that. Until then, until I come up with the standings, as Tails BR is currently leading the championship from Troye, who's on provisional pole right now. So we'll come back to the standings later, and we are on board with Igor, as just a bit, he goes just a bit tentative on the throttle at the exit of turn 1. Miami, a really fast flowing track, especially the first sector. A lot of S's, a pretty tricky section here. You need to really get, oh, just a bit of a moment for Igor there. It goes a bit wide off the track. Has he invalidated his lap? No, he hasn't. So not the best of pace at the moment. I'm not sure if these times are truly representative of the dry run, and I have a bit of my suspicions in terms of rain being there in the race, and drivers looking for more of a wet setup with a higher downforce than what would be the case for in Miami in a dry session, because you've got two really long straights, and you do need the straight line speed as much as you can. As now across the final sector comes Igor. He's set a purple middle sector. I'm not sure how reflective that is, or is that a game bug, because a game glitch tends to give drivers a purple middle sector on a lot of occasions. Just slightly misses the apex there, gets onto the power. That looks like a decent time there. Yes, 27.3. That's an improve 1 second improvement on his time, which puts him now in P8. Let's see what the gap is to the leader. All right, so less than a 10 separating the top 3, and there's a tight midfield as well in P5, P6, P7, and P8, and the top 5 being also very close to each other. So let's see how this situation unfolds, as the sun has also probably got down just a bit, as right now I think just getting a bit overcast, but I don't think we'll be able to see transitioning conditions here during qualifying, as we just have 4 more minutes to go. That's pretty much, drivers would be now getting their head for one last run before the end of the session. But we are on board the Ferrari of Snotpin here, who is fairly neatly negotiating the first sector here. He really wants to line, and Let me also lag, or if he actually did that, we'll find out probably at the hairpin, final hairpin, what kind of time does he put over there. Oh, that he is grazing the wall, but I think that definitely is a spectator lag. It's not him actually. He just had a bit of a moment. I'm sure there he did not. He doesn't really improve on his time, and I think he might just fancy going for recharging his battery and going for another run. And this time is a legitimate spin which he has. Now, as all the drivers now coming out for their out lap, the top two not really. They are. Troy has now come out of the pits just about time before Psycho also chooses to come out. As we do have a lot of drivers now on their out laps. Yagi Zan has invalidated his previous lap, but now he's probably going on a full run now. Yes, he is. As there's a car that's just coming out of the pits, shouldn't be much of a problem for Yagi Zan. We can come back to him later on, as there's a Haas as well that's coming close to line but has invalidated his lap, so that's not going to stand well. But he does have time to go for another run, as Tails BR508 is also approaching the final corner, and I think that's he's also probably going to start a lap, because that time is not really representative of what it should be. But okay, suddenly a 7. Oh no, I'll assume he has started his lap, as we have drivers who are alright. CPI Damon is also coming to cross the line, and he's also starting a lap probably. I don't know, the timers are just, let me assume all these drivers are just going to start their ANL Wilcott has invalidated his lap, so one chance still to go for him. And I think these drivers, is there anybody who is? Yes, it is Yagizan, who should be legitimately crossing the line for one last time. And where does he put his car? Is it P7, or does he goes higher? Does he go higher? He does. He displaces Kingsman for the moment, and that's end of qualifying for him pretty much. He won't have any kind of battery to contend with in terms of going for another lap, as there are really a lot of drivers there out on the track, as FA Ima has also started his lap probably, and so has LRE Stretch. And there's a Red Bull that's crossing the line of Igor Zhelen, and he is, I assume, also starting his lap. So let's see who is going to cross the line first. Tails BR is improving on his time. He but he doesn't have the best of final sectors, and he loses out on any kind of advantage he had in the initial part of the lap, as there's another Red Bull that should be crossing the line next, but Destroyer Sean has invalidated his lap. That's pretty much end of qualifying for him, as SBS Mr. Rage would now be crossing the line one final time. Where does he put his car? P5 provisionally for him, and he goes pole position provisional pole for Mr. Age, as there is the McLaren crossing. Kaya of McLaren has just beaten Mr. Age, and the Aston Martin of Xavier is just displaces LRE Stretch for that P18, and there's an Alpine that has crossed the line of, I think, not sure, but there's a Ferrari that has also crossed the line, or there's a McLaren that has crossed the line, and Mr. Psycho ALB puts his car up on the front row, and there was a Mercedes that crossed, and an AlphaTauri, I think, is coming back into the pits, as we have a Red Bull crossing the line of Igor, improving on his time. Where does he see himself? He still stays P7. Alright. And Tails BR, I think he is pretty much done with his qualifying, though he is crossing the line. Don't think that's going to be any kind of improvement there, as Nick is back into the pitch. So that is pretty much the end of qualifying for you, ladies and gentlemen. We should be looking forward to an interesting race, and this is the time where we can probably have a look at the driver standings, as God's not killer, I think. Yes, he is. He is there in the lobby. So the Ferrari are looking promising. The Ferrari